What's going on, guys? My name is Nick, and today I thought I would talk to you about my top 10 movies I've watched in quarantine. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say this list is kind of all over the place. It's not, all based to just one genre, one category. They're all over the place because I just watched about 10 movies within quarantine, and I, didn't really make them specific to anyone a particular idea. So in the future, I'm gonna try and make my videos more aligned to what I'm actually talking about, not all over the place. You'll see when I get into it. But with that being said, let's talk about top 10 movies I've watched in quarantine. So starting up at number 10 is Battle Los Angeles. Now, they added this to Netflix. I was like, I need to rewatch this. And when I watched it, I didn't hate it before, and nor do I hate it now. But there's just something like they just missed a step, because a movie like this should be grand and epic and have this huge impact on you after you leave the movie theater or watching it on your TV. It should leave you wanting more. But the movie kind of just leaves you like there's more to be had, and that there's also stuff you missed. And this movie's at least almost 2 hours, and it's handy cam type of, not found footage, but it's so shaky. And you don't even see the creatures until about an hour in. And the creatures look cool, but they just don't have that much of a compelling arc, because it's basically all these military guys coming in to, rescue people, which is awesome. But the entire movie is just spent on these specific set of people as they travel to different parts rescuing people. And then the aliens are the side thing, where you're just barely seeing them for a few minutes here and there until the very end when they do defeat them. But it doesn't feel as earned, because the entire first half of the movie was spent just them saving people, and then all of a sudden they can figure out, oh, we can defeat them, we know how to do it. When most movies at least build up their time to find that solution, they kind of just did it in one movie, but the movie takes place within one day. So a lot of issues. Not a horrible movie, but it's number 10. At number 9, we have The Cat in the Hat. Now, these two movies are completely different genres, from Battle Los Angeles to The Cat in the Hat. As you can tell, that's what I was talking about. Completely different movies, just my top 10. So with The Cat in the Hat, you got Mike Myers playing the cat. And you got Abigail Breslin, I think. Oh, no, you got Dakota Fanning, not Abigail Breslin, and Spencer Breslin. It's her brother. And they're playing brother and sister. You got John Travolta's wife, I'm forgetting her name right now. And to be quite honest, this movie has a special place in my heart because I watched it so much as a kid. The visuals I do like. There's a couple times you can see the green screen, and there's also some other times where you can just tell that there's probably some background issues going on behind the scenes. Mike Myers does do a good job. I can't just help but imagine the time he took to put on that suit and just to do a bunch of wacky just voices and characters. That one scene where he's doing the cooking show with the cupcakes, that is gold. I love that scene to death. I could rewatch that for the rest of my life. The movie gets like 2 extra points because of that. And I think the actors do a fine job. Alec Baldwin gets to play a really weird character like I've never seen before, and puts on a fat suit. It's insane. And to be quite honest, there's just too many continuity errors. Like, the cat shows up, you don't even know how he gets there. The fish becomes alive. You're like, how did you become alive? And then where did the cat come from? He just shows up. It's just and then they go to a party underground. After rewatching this movie, I was like, I remember seeing these scenes and I thought I was confused, but after watching it as an adult, I'm even more confused. So, comes in at number 9. It's really weird. Number 8, we have Zoom, Academy for Superheroes. I think that's what it was called. Really weird title. All I could think about was the Flash show when I was looking at the title. But this was before the Flash, so we got Tim Allen, an old superhero that has retired for a few years. They're trying to start a new team of superheroes, modern day, but this is back in 2006. And this is another movie from my childhood I had a fun time watching after growing up and having a rewatch. You can tell it doesn't hold up quite to the standards of what you would think as a kid. It's not to say it's a bad movie. It feels kind of short. They just want to build this team up super quick. And I think the team behind this movie kind of just wanted to throw all the superhero genres together, because you got a bunch of different kids with different powers, which is cool in theory, but the whole point of this movie is to team them up with Tim Allen. So when the end of the movie comes, the third act, you have his brother that got sucked in to some sort of gamma radiation stall where he just didn't age, and he is played by Kevin Zegers, which interesting choice. Kevin Zegers is cool. He hasn't been in that many movies or shows, but he's been around, and he shows up in the third act of this movie, so it's like this entire build-up to see him, and I feel like you don't get enough of his presence, and as much as that's not the biggest fault of the movie, it just doesn't feel as didn't win me over. It just kind of happens, and then they defeat him within less than 5 minutes when the entire movie was built upon that confrontation. And man, do I gotta say, there's like 6 Smash Mouth songs, and I'm not disregarding Smash Mouth. Like, I think they're a great band, but movies just don't put that many songs by one band anymore, huh? Like, I was amazed how many Smash Mouth songs were actually in the movie. I thought there was like 2, but there's like at least 6, maybe 7, I don't know. End credits, the intro, the battle, like the entire movie's emotional like stuff is based all around the Smash Mouth songs, except when they're dancing to Hero by Gabriel Iglesias. So that tells you where this movie's at. Number 7, we have a movie called Drillbit Taylor. Now, this is on Netflix as well. Another childhood movie. A lot of these movies I rewatched because they were on Netflix, and I was really curious to see where they were going to take this movie as an adult. And so, seeing Owen Wilson in a more different role, some hobos, it really gave me a Shameless type of vibe. If you've seen the show Shameless, it reminded me of that. Kind of just doing what you need to do just to get by, living on your resources, taking advantage of other people. Except this is more PG-13, it's Owen Wilson, and then you got 3 nerds, which you can't just help but think super bad, but at the same time they are their own characters. They just kind of have a lot of similarities, and I think they were trying to take what Superbad did and twist it on its head a little bit. It came out a year after Superbad, so you can't help but think, okay, they were trying to do a more teenage version of Superbad, but with Owen Wilson. So I'll give them credit for trying to do something different. It doesn't feel like they're copying Superbad. It doesn't feel like they're doing anything to feel like they're cheating. They're trying to do their own thing. It just also feels like they're going in a direction that doesn't exactly feel like it would work in real life. Like, I don't think 3 kids would just be friends with some homeless dude that was stealing their home belongings. And granted, they try to give it an emotional impact when he likes the kids. He doesn't want to actually steal from them. He doesn't want to do all these things. And as much as that is nice, and you see that character development, he is a homeless guy making friends with these 3 kids, and granted, he's supposed to be their bodyguard, but These are three teenagers, and in a real life scenario, that would be so unsafe, and it just wouldn't happen. It kind of goes on disbelief that this would be the case, but if you can just disregard that fact, you have yourself an enjoyable teenage movie with Josh Peck playing a bully, the guy from Drake and Josh who was always being bullied becomes the bullyee. So, I mean, there's some character development for you right there. NumberSix is a movie called Looney Tunes Back in Action. Another childhood favorite of mine. Watching it as a grown-up, can't say it holds up as much. CGI does fairly good, maybe just a little bit here and there. It doesn't seem too well made, but majority of the time the CGI looks pretty good. The animation with the live action does fit mostly well for the time it was made, 2003. You got Brendan Fraser, Jenna Elfman, all the Looney Tunes characters. I really appreciate all the little cameos they have of all the different characters. It really just kind of brightens you up when you're in the movie, like, hey, it's that character, hey, it's that character, hey, Shaggy. And then like they're playing off their characters. It's really kind of fourth wall breaking a few times. And there's a lot of early 2000s movies that kind of had that way about them, and then we didn't have that until Deadpool. So you can really see the growth that the film industry has had on just where their storylines kind of go. But with Looney Tunes, you know, you got Brendan Fraser, who's looking to be a stuntman, and he's not exactly doing the best of job, but he's trying to find his niche. And then right when you think he's gonna start progressing somewhere, he messes up with Daffy Duck, gets fired by Jenna Elfman, and then he has to go find his dad because his dad turns out to be some actual James Bond type of dude. And then the entire movie is Brendan Fraser trying to find his dad. Then Jenna Elfman tags along with him with Bugs Bunny, so you got Jenna Elfman, Brendan Fraser, Daffy Duck, and Bugs Bunny all on this chaotic adventure until they finally find his dad with this blue monkey. And the blue monkey is this thing that turns everybody into monkeys, and that Steve Martin plays this really wacky character, really wacky. I don't think it beats half the characters. If him and Cat in the Hat were in a room, they'd be having charades like nobody's business. So still enjoyable movie, comes in at number 6, so I'd say watch it if you're really bored. Number 5, we have Instant Family. Now this is when the movies start to get more upgraded to me, because these other 5 were more like childhood movies I wanted to rewatch. They're not exactly on par with these top 5, but these top 5 are pretty good. Instant Family, I caught this one on Hulu. This one I had never watched before, so this was a first time watch. Instant Family I thought was way better. Like, I heard it was good, I heard it was enjoyable, but it really hit home, especially with the fact that it was directed by the guy who did Daddy's Home 1 and 2, and I think he wrote Horrible Bosses too. So I mean, it's not a bad track record, but his movies are pretty average or just below. So this movie is his best movie written. I heard that he based this movie off real life scenarios, so that's really heartwarming. Mark Wahlberg does a horrible. He does man, what was the word I was gonna use? I was gonna say horrible, but it's not horrible. He did. I totally goofed. Mark Wahlberg does a really good job at playing the father character. Rose Byrne does a fantastic job as well playing the mother. And the kids are great actors. Like, they did a great job. They really sold it for me. And I gotta say, this movie kind of touched at the heartstrings a little bit. It really, first hour, you're like, okay, it's a typical movie. You're getting that family dynamic vibe. They want to have kids. The humor is what really sold this movie, because it really feels realistic and it doesn't feel half-assed. They really honed in on why these parents want these kids. And the end of the movie, they just did the best job on explaining why they wanted to have these kids. Because the entire movie, you know that they want them, even if it kind of felt like rushed. But then when you realize why they wanted the kids, they didn't realize they wanted kids until they had them, those set of three. And it's just a heartwarming movie, and I love how it ends. It has a really good ending, touches at your soul. Great family movie. Definitely check it out. Number 4, we have The Platform. Totally different movie. It's a really good movie. I kept hearing things about it. I kept wanting to see it, and then Netflix put it on there, and I was like, okay, let's watch this finally. I want to see what this movie's all about. And so they put The Platform on there, and totally was not expecting this movie. Like, I knew what it was about, but after actually watching it, it was just completely different. I think because it was made in another country, the English voiceovers didn't exactly match the mouth, so I never really watched a movie like that before. I would say 90% of the time it worked, 10% you can kind of tell it's off a bit, but it still was good. And the story is compelling the entire time. I was totally involved. The actors did a great job. You can just see yourself in this world, like you're actually on the platform with these people. And there's like at least 300 or more platforms. There's way more than they say there are. So there's a couple things where you're just like, why did they say there's only about 200, but there's actually like maybe 400 or around 350? And then you never see outside the world, which I know the movie is not about. They're showing the inside of this platform area. It just makes me wonder, what is this outside world actually like? Is this normal life and this place just exists? Had a few questions. And at the very end, I felt like they could have shown just a couple more things, like where does he go? Where does the platform go? They could have like at least ended it a bit more complete. I still enjoyed the ending, but I just think they could have added a couple more scenes that would have added a more fitting end to it. But it was still a great movie overall. I would rewatch it sometime in the future. It's a great rewatch. Number 2. No, number 3. Number 3, we have Yesman, Jim Carrey comedy. This one depends on your love of movies and your view on them. This one comes on top of those two just because of how wacky it is. Jim Carrey does a great character here. This is one of my favorite performances from him. I know he's done like The Truman Show and Eternal Spotless of the Mind, or Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Man, I gotta remember that title. That's a big one. But he's done some great movies. But Yes Man is one of those comedies you think it's going to be one of those cliche Jim Carrey comedies. And in a way it has that humor, but it goes about it in a totally different way. Now, obviously this whole world kind of seems unbelievable at times. There's parts where it feels real, but then when you get into this like cult following type of thing, it starts to feel disbelief. You believe it most of the time. But there's points where you're just like, I don't know if this is where I would take the movie, or if I would take this in real life. It just doesn't feel exactly how real life is. But granted, it's a movie. You gotta have compelling story. I like Zooey Deschanel in it. I think it's one of her better performances. You know, forget about The Happening and whatever other somber movies she's done. She's done some good stuff. 500 Days of Summer, I like her in that movie. Yes Man, I just think she has a way better personality. She's cute. She plays a more weird person, but it's a weird cute, and I really like their dynamic that they had, Jim Carrey and Zooey Deschanel. They did a good job. And a lot of good other actors. They had Danny Masterson. Man, you got Danny Masterson, Jim Carrey, sometimes Zooey Deschanel, but then you got Bradley Cooper playing a role. It's so weird seeing Bradley Cooper before he got famous, because you just see him like in these side roles, and it's just really interesting to see that. Now coming in at number 2, we have Road to Perdition. Tom Hanks, main star of this movie. You have Daniel Craig play an antagonist, and it's just this early 2000s movie by Sam Mendes. It has a great score by Thomas Newman. His son does a great job in the movie. I can't remember his name. I know he played Superman in the CW right now. I think he did some other things. Can't come to my head right now. But Tom Hanks delivers a great performance. It's one of these movies where you see Tom Hanks actually play kind of a bad guy. I mean, he is the protagonist, but he's killing people. He's doing things to save his son and his family, but then his wife and his other son dies, so he's only left with the one son. So it really gives you this small family dynamic where they have to, you know, bond more when they haven't had this great bond already. But then you get to see each character's layers, and they get to start to see each other in a new light that they hadn't seen each other in before. So it really brings in way more heartfelt moments at the end when Tom Hanks ends up getting killed by Daniel Craig, and then, or actually no, Daniel Craig doesn't kill him. He does kill Daniel Craig earlier. Or no, Daniel Craig kills himself. Daniel Craig kills himself, and then the guy he had sent to kill Tom Hanks kills Tom Hanks, and then his son kills the guy that was sent to kill him. Man, I totally got that just messed up, because there were so many different parts to just them like having to run away, and I was just like, wow, so much is going on. I think that movie's easily one of the best movies on Netflix. I would totally check out Road to Perdition. And coming in at number 1 is Back to the Future. It's hard to not put this at number 1. Back to the Future was one of the first films I ever watched besides Star Wars, and Back to the Future has a great trilogy. First movie, phenomenal. Michael J. Fox, phenomenal. Christopher Lloyd, phenomenal. Everybody is so phenomenal in that first movie, it's uncanny. The sequels are just so good as well. Not as perfect as the first movie, but as a trilogy, you get that first scene to that very last scene in each Back to the Futures, and I think it has a perfectly tied trilogy. Most of you have probably seen the movie. If not, you need to check it out, because it's one of the best time travel movies, one of the best movies made in history, in my opinion, and they just added it to Netflix. So they had 3 on there for the longest time, and then they finally add the other 2. So kind of weird, Netflix. Maybe they didn't have all the rights, I don't know. But all 3 are on there now. Each movie takes place in different times, but has continuity to each movie. And I just think it sets up a perfect trilogy from first movie to third. And if you haven't watched it, please go ahead and watch it. So guys, that was my top 10. I know it's a little bit of a different type of video with so many different categories and genres blending together. This is only the kind of video I wanted to do just this one time. In the future, more of my videos will be more along the lines of the category and genre that I'm going to be talking about. I got other movie ideas coming soon. There should be some other video on demands coming in the future. And with that being said, guys, thank you for watching if you have. If not, thank you for staying this long. It's, you know, I'm still trying to work out the kinks here. I am coming back to YouTube. If you haven't watched my update video, that's a video I uploaded previously to this one, and I have a couple other videos that will be coming within the next couple days. So with that being said, guys, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.